my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. Welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. Welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. Welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft. Welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft. Welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. I hope you can hear me. I've got my air filter on right now, and I've got my full face shield with respirator on. And it makes it difficult to talk to you. And welcome back to my shop. Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. Now that was just a little display of some of the safety equipment that I have and that I use to protect myself. Now it's each one of your own responsibilities to look after yourself when you're in the workshop. And I understand that. It's my responsibility to look after myself in my workshop. I recently, on my last video, had a comment about protective gear, and I appreciate that. And but you got to understand too that to make a video as a demonstration for you guys, it's not always practical to wear everything, especially if I'm trying to talk to you guys to explain my process. But those are the things that I do wear when I feel it's necessary to protect myself. And I do often have my air filter on. It's just there at the end of my lathe. When I'm sanding, it's always on. Because the fine particles, you don't even see them, they're in the air, you don't even see them. So you got to do something to protect your lungs. Okay, so this video is going to be a very similar video to the last one. It's a demonstration of a bowl that I made, the simple sycamore bowl. I posted some photographs on Facebook just the other day on Woodchuckers and on my own Facebook page. But here you can watch me make it, and you can hear my process, my explanation of how I do it. It's basically, it was a roughed out bowl I roughed out last winter, and now I'm finishing it. I do appreciate your comments on videos. If you have any questions, comments or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I do answer all the comments. Thanks a lot. Take care. Okay, so what I have here is my 4-jaw chuck, a scrap piece of wood that I've used before for the same purpose, with my wormwood screw in a 3/8 hole in the center of this piece of wood. What I will do is put this on my lathe, and in slow speed, always start in slow speed, just make sure that it's running true, and it is. Perfect. Now what I'll do is get a little piece of slip resistant cloth, and I will place it over that block of wood, and I will put the bowl against that, just with pressure, and then I'll move the tailstock up and extend it to the center point of the bowl. As best I can anyway. Now that pressure will be enough to stop the bowl from flying off of the lathe. Again, I'm in slow speed. And it's not terribly out of balance. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start shaping the outside with shear cuts with my bowl gouge. Okay, so I'm actually going with a fairly small tenon on this bowl. Normally I would have a bigger tenon, but for this shape I'm going with a smaller tenon. So what I'm going to do now is power sand this down to a decent finish and use Yorkshire grit to get the final finish that I want. So I'm going to sand from 60 up to 320, and then I'm going to apply Yorkshire grit, and that will be my foundation for Hampshire sheen. Okay, as per Glyn's instructions on Yorkshire grit, I have sanded this down to actually 320 grit, and it's a relatively evenly sanded surface, which is important. If you've got areas of tear out, you need to take care of those areas before you use Yorkshire grit. So I have an evenly sanded area. Now I have my sanding sealer here, which I have reduced with an agent to thin it, a thinner. So I'm now going to apply it to the wood. And that will soak into the wood and seal it. And let that dry. Okay, it has now been a few minutes and the sanding sealer has dried, and I'm going to get my Yorkshire grit. There it is. And I have a paper towel. I'm going to apply it about that much to get going, and by hand I'm just going to start working it in. Okay, so on slow speed I'm just going to get it started. Bearing in mind I've only sanded to 320 grit. I can feel the grinds of the Yorkshire grit doing its abrasive job on the bowl. Okay, I've had a little bit of a mic walt cleanup, and now what I'm going to do is apply some sanding sealer, which has been diluted with a thinner, with a cellulose thinner, and we'll just apply this to soak into the grain and stiffen up the fibres before we do the Yorkshire grit. Same treatment as the outside. And we'll let that dry. Okay guys, it's time to apply the Yorkshire grit, which is going to finish up this sanding job just a treat. It's going to bring it from 320 grit down to 1000 grit with those abrasives that are in this product. Okay, and we'll turn this on. Just double check my tension on the chuck. It's good. Put it on slow speed. Let the Yorkshire grit do its job. You can feel it getting smoother. You can also see the finish getting shinier. You can bring the speed up now. I'm at about 1500 RPM. You can get a fresh piece of tissue paper now and continue removing all the residue. Now I'm going to apply some Hampshire sheen. Apply this by hand, get it liberally all over the piece. Going to go on the outside again, another coat. I'm going to speed down low just to okay, I'm just gonna let that get tacky, and then I'll come back and buff it off. Okay, so I've decided to leave a little bit of a foot on, but I need to clean up this edge. So I'm going to take a skew and just clean up that edge, and then I'm going to sand the bottom clean. So I don't really have to take off a lot of wood. It's pretty stable there. I'm just going to take off a very small amount of wood. That's pretty good. I'll get some wax on that, and that will look good.